It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley's here. Oh my gosh, they're updating Notepad. I wonder what Mary Jo has to say about that. Windows Linux comes to the store. That's going to be an easier way to get it. And we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Xbox. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 746, recorded Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. Token Woof. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Privacy.com. Privacy lets you buy things online using virtual cards instead of having to use your real ones, protecting your financial identity on the internet. Right now, new customers will automatically get $5 to spend on their first purchase. Go to privacy.com/WW to sign up now. And by Bandwidth. Bandwidth understands the challenges enterprises face when migrating their communications to the cloud. That's why Bandwidth launched Duet for Microsoft Teams, the only complete solution for direct routing and Microsoft-certified E911, available direct from a carrier, designed to simplify your migration to Teams direct routing. Request your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/WW. And by Akamai. Akamai powers and protects life online and is changing how we live, work, and play. See how Akamai is unleashing the internet of possibilities for the biggest brands in the world. Visit akamai.com/WW to learn more. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Microsoft. All right, dozers, let me introduce you to your hosts for today. On your left, Mary Jo Foley, star of allaboutmicrosoft.com, the CDNet blog. She's wearing a rose window today in honor of Notre Dame.
Yeah, it looks a little burned.
Yeah.
And then Paul Thurrott, always looking at the bright side of life. He's from Thurrott.com.
Yep.
THURRO.com. He's also, his books are at leanpub.com. And together they are the dynamic duo of Microsoft reportage.
Yeah, certainly something.
You guys are something.
Something else.
This is a red letter day.
Oh?
When I saw this story, I said to myself, Mary Jo Foley is going to enjoy this one. Notepad's getting an update in Windows 11.
Yeah.
Or put another way, those dirty dogs at Microsoft are copying my app again.
Wow. Are you being Sherlocked? What happened? Have we seen it, the new Notepad?
We've seen a
saw it
few
briefly.
screenshots.
Did Panos tweet it?
No,
No.
it was leaked.
Oh.
Somebody
I feel bad for the guy,
posted it by
don't
mistake.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
Notepad. We're not talking about the, Russian missile secrets or something. It's
So-
No, we are. No, we are.
Paul, let's not take this too lightly. So what's new? There's a theming. You could do a dark theme.
Yeah, the big thing is, there's like the thing you're looking at right there is new, just a settings interface, right? There's not really anything like that in Notepad. Never has been. It's all the settings are right in the menu. And then the other big thing is the, if you scroll down, the WinUI look and feel, with the glass effect. All right, we don't call it
Probably you
glass
get
anymore,
that
sorry.
for free in Windows 11, right? I imagine that.
Yeah, you do, but if you but Notepad is so old, it can't take advantage of that stuff. So if you bring down you do get the rounded menu, but the menu bar itself is kind of old-fashioned
square.
looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this
The
here?
best thing? The best thing about this?
Yeah.
Not much is changing.
Yeah.
That actually is, seriously, I'm not even being facetious saying this.
No, I agree with you.
I was so scared that they were going to be like, let's really redo Notepad from the ground up. It doesn't need to be redone. It's good. It's perfect. Leave
A
it.
modern reinterpretation.
Well,
of
as we've
documents.
said before, it's really just a wrapper around the text edit control. It's part of...
Leo, your constant efforts to downplay how complicated
But a
this
really
app is.
It's
Great
just
wrapper.
a DLL, Paul. It's just...
It's a little more complicated than that.
It's just
a great
one,
wrapper,
It's just
not just
one
a
call to
It's
a DLL.
a monkey could do it. That's all I'm saying. Fine.
No, I'm sure your .NET version is much more complex.
Well, Okay.
But I imagine they get it from, these features they get kind of from an updated text control, right? I would imagine. What is this here?
Well,
though? The sounds of the ocean waves calms my
That's just
soul.
sample text.
Oh, did you type
when
that
you
in or did
change-
they?
I don't have this. This was in the leaked image, so this
'Cause-
must be the.
There's a grammar error in it, but maybe they'll fix that.
That's true. There is. That's good.
Yeah. Anyway, that'd be funny if they introduced a grammar error as the big change, but I don't. They didn't want to say the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog because it's, as we now know, it's insulting to dogs.
Wow. As the owner of a dog, I disagree.
Dogs.
It's horribly
You're
accurate.
going to stick with lazy, huh? All right.
I'm glad they didn't put cats in there. Let's just.
This is how lazy my dog is. She doesn't even lift her head off the couch, and she makes a woofing sound because she knows there's a dog outside. She has to register her displeasure.
That's a token woof. That's what we call a token woof. Yeah.
It's not even onerous enough to require a walk to a window or a door. It just
I'm just letting you know I'm here.
yeah.
I am on the
disagree
couch.
with the existence of this other animal.
Here's a token woof for you.
Yep, that fox would jump right over her.
And of course, Lisa has posted. Did you see on her Instagram the
No,
cat?
what?
The cat. Apparently, our cat, not lazy, made every effort to climb up on. Let me see if I can play this here for you. Climb up on the shelf in our pantry.
And I heard this cry.
Way up there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and she's mad because Lisa's found her, and look at that! Look at that glare. She's
That's like you found my spot.
yeah. That's it. Okay, there's your cat and dog feature of the day. Woof. Is there anything else to say about Notepad? I think
No.
that covered
No, the
it.
good part is they didn't wreck it, which is surprising but great.
Yeah.
Right.
When people started tweeting to me over the weekend, Mary Jo, they redesigned Notepad, and I'm like, should I even look at this? It's going to wreck my whole weekend. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
You will stay with the existing font and so forth. You're not going to mess with the.
I never changed my
Theming.
font. I never use themes.
No.
Like, why?
Yeah.
It's just that it's, you know
Well-
why Notepad is great? Can I reiterate? Like, it's great because it's simple.
It's
There's
perfect.
no distractions.
It's cooked.
Like, that's what I don't want.
Okay.
I don't want
Well,
distractions. I don't want to play around with
The problem
million
is, and this is
settings.
probably still a problem with this version of the app, is the writing surface is white. So even if you switch to a
That's
dark
fine.
theme, no, it's not. It's
probably what they've
actually
added here,
it's way
right?
too bright.
We don't know what happens when you click app theme, but it probably just
Right.
says light dark.
It probably doesn't change the background, but I hope it does because there's a certain third-party app that has done that for over a year. I'm just saying.
Go out and
it's
get
a great
the
feature.
Improved Notepad. But what is this? This should concern you. File editing experience. If you experience issues opening certain files, choose Classic.
Right.
That sounds like they've changed the
Yeah.
file format, which is
Yeah.
interesting since it's a plain text format.
They better
They've
not
probably
be
gone to
changing
like text X format or something.
Oh, I hope not.
that. No.
I hope not.
No.
Does Notepad support Unicode? Maybe it's so old that it doesn't. It just
No,
asks
it
you.
absolutely does. In fact, that's one of the
Okay.
many complex things about it, Leo. It supports literally every
And left,
text
right,
documenting
right,
format
left.
on Earth.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's insane. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually yeah.
Except it's all in the DLL, so you don't.
Dear God. Let me tell you something, Laporte. You can't find and replace with that DLL. You got to write that yourself.
This is how coders rag on each other. So coders mess with each other. That was just a library you called. I know that. That's just a rapper. Your app is a rapper, my friend, a rapper. Actually, let's see. Yesterday was Patch Tuesday.
Right.
Any patches for Windows 11 yet?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yep. Just fixes. I mean, no visible changes or anything like that.
No.
Unless you have an AMD computer, by the way. One of the interesting stories of the past week is that as this thing went out into the world, the original release, people with certain AMD chipsets were like, what's going on here? This thing is like 25% slower than it used to be. And Microsoft says, don't worry about it. We're going to fix it. And they released Patch Tuesday, and now it's 40 to 45% slower. So great.
I have a question on this. So
Yeah.
I have it running on that HP that you gave me with an AMD Ryzen processor.
Yep.
So am I one of the ones affected, even though I don't care about gaming?
Yeah. I think you are, but you wouldn't notice it in normal day-to-day
Well,
stuff.
I also haven't gotten the actual official build of Windows 11. I switched my settings in the Insider program to say when Microsoft is ready to offer it to me on my PC, I'll take it, but not before.
Oh, so you're still on.
that
Well, but
button?
that is
So
the
I'm
ship.
still
That's
on-
still.
It
that's
is the
still
RTM
normal.
version, right?
Yeah.
But it's not the one that they are pushing out. So I haven't noticed any slower performance. But again, I'm running
Yeah.
Notepad, so
Sure. You got to get that performance boost to get those. I keep wanting to call them arrow effects. The WinUI
Glass.
effects, I guess we'll call them. There's not really glass, right? It's like acrylic or whatever
Right.
the material is.
Whatever the new glass is, yeah.
No, they have all these names. They have acrylic, and what's the other one they have? That's some other
Mica?
crazy mica.
They can't have Micah. He's ours.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a
Mica
different
with a C.
spelling, so it's
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Mica, when I was a kid, I was fascinated with mica. It's a mineral
Right.
that shards off. It shears off. It's like plates. And it was used before glass making was easy. It was used for windows in the early Pioneer
So it must have been
days.
semi-opaque, though. But
It
wouldn't
was.
let
It
light
wasn't
through.
very good for a window. It was a terrible
Well,
window.
it depends on what you're looking for.
But,
so,
yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Okay, we've pretty much covered the Mica story. Let's see. Oh. Steve talked about this yesterday. Steve was just ragging on Windows 11, and it was painful. But
Well, to be fair, Steve was the guy who ran Windows 2000 for about 12 years.
I know.
So
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
fact,
it's okay.
somebody tweeted him and said, "There's a little paradox because you wrote never 10, and now you're mad because we can't get 11." And there is a little paradox. And he said, "No. It's all consistent." Because the point is that we want to do what we want to do, not have Microsoft tell us what to do.
there you go.
Yeah.
See, I would have said it's not a paradox. I'm just a hypocrite. But
But he did talk a little bit about AMD's performance issues.
Yeah.
right.
This is older Ryzen's though, right? Or is it? Is it all Ryzen?
thought
I
it
know.
was-
That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I'm not
I
actually
wonder if
sure
it's
which-
all.
It's an L2 cache problem, and I think
AMD
it's maybe
says they're going to
AMD's
fix it
fault.
very
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah. Well, that's a tough call, I guess. Yeah.
Well, but
yeah,
it didn't happen
they
on
are the
Windows
ones
10.
fixing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised it wasn't in Patch Tuesday this week, the fix, but I guess it's a hard computer science problem.
That's
Sarah
insane.
Belland in our chat room says Intel has co-designed with Microsoft a special thread scheduler for Alder Lake while breaking AMD Ryzen.
Oh,
It's interesting because
L3 cache.
the
Thank
Alder
you,
Lake
Sarah.
stuff
Yeah.
caused what's the CEO of Intel now is John
Gettinger, Goshinger,
Pat Gelsinger.
Gelsinger. Pat
Gelsinger. Pat, okay, not even close. Paul.
Not even-
Not
So
shy.
it's a guy's name. I remember that. He had come out and said, AMD's time in the sun is over, and I think he was
Yeah.
specifically referring to these kind of big little CPU architectures that are coming down the
Boy, I
pike.
hope he's wrong. I really like my 5900, but
I like to
anyway,
see competition.
apparently it does affect the newest Ryzen.
Yeah, I looked at. I believe it. I think it impacts basically any AMD processor that's compatible with Windows 11.
Wow. So it is my laptop.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but
you
so-
have
but the
you
big
have a Surface
performance
laptop
issue-
with AMD in it. That's right. You'd
It
think
just depends on what you're doing. So the bigger issue is with gaming, which
Yeah.
you won't see.
Right.
And then the non-gaming issue, it's something that's really it's only 3 to 5%.
It's compute intensive, right? It's like super compute intensive workloads. So that's not going to be me.
And it's very minor if you're not gaming. So
Right.
that's okay.
So
be
this,
fine.
in other words, this thread scheduler, which they did to help Intel hurt AMD. What a shock!
By the way, speaking of Microsoft doing something with Intel to hurt AMD, did you see the Seamus Blackley tweet?
No.
So one of the guys on the original Xbox team a couple of days ago, or within the past 24 hours or whatever, tweeted again, not for the first time, that he was very sorry to AMD because literally Intel called Bill Gates the night of the Xbox launch and said, "You have to switch to Intel," and he said yes. and they had tested they had only used an AMD CPU for the entire testing process.
OMG.
And then AMD was in the front row of at the announcement, and they had to stand up there and say, we're partnering with Intel. And see the look on their faces, like, what the heck just happened?
God.
And yeah.
And you thought,
and again,
Game
I'm
of
forgetting
Thrones was
another Intel
cutthroat.
CEO's name, but who's the classic Intel CEO from back in the day? The
Andy Grove.
Andy Grove.
He
Andy
was
Grove
always
called Bill Gates.
He was always pissed at Microsoft. I remember. He never was happy with Microsoft.
I know.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is that the source of all the overheating issues with the original Xbox, you think?
Well, I don't think the original Xbox had any issues. The 360 did.
The 360, the red ring.
Yeah,
of
I
death
don't
was
think the first one.
360.
The original one was just like, I think it was just a Celeron processor. It was pretty straightforward.
Okay.
You know, it was a PC basically, right?
Yeah.
But they had done the whole testing process with some AMD CPU, probably back then, like a K, whatever those things were called, K2 or something. But Athlon or who knows. But yeah, literally at the launch, AMD was, the CEO and a couple other people from AMD were sitting there in the front row, waiting for their moment in the sun, and they announced it was Intel.
Man. Yikes! Are you kidding?
Nope.
Oh, man.
No, look
That's
at
a
this.
great
Seamus
story.
Blackley.
That
Yeah, it's
is a
crazy.
great
It's awful.
Story.
Awful.
But Intel won in the end, right? Aren't Intel processors now used in both the Xbox?
Yeah, well,
and
Intel was in the first one. The 360 was a Power PC, and then the Xbox One. And no, actually, you mean AMD did? Yeah. So
yeah, AMD won in the long
Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S are AMD based. Yeah.
run. Yeah,
Andy
and
Grove's gone.
PlayStation
That's why.
5. So they won.
Well, yeah, but would you rather be in a device that may sell 50 to 80 million units over the course of 10 years, or a device that sells 250 million units a year? I mean, I guess they won the Xbox, but that's kind of the booby prize for this kind of thing.
Yeah. Mary Jo showing her animated GIF foo in our Discord. Kay Newman says, or Newman, how many cores does Notepad EXE actually utilize? You posted billions.
Yep, all of them is the correct
All of
answer.
them. It's a multi-threaded. Is it multi-threaded, Paul?
Why are we overthinking Notepad? Guys, just accept it's
seems
perfect.
like one
It's
thread
perfect.
would really do it. Most of the time,
I mean,
waiting for Mary Jo.
you have
hit
to have a
another letter.
copy replace dialogue on top of the text, so there's got to be something going on there, right?
Good Lord.
Let's check in with the DLL.
Let's get the font rendering going through one core, and then thanks to the power of the Iris Xe graphics, Notepad now renders 1% faster.
Good, interesting. I think a lot of people. There's one reason for me that I think I would go to Windows 11 is WSL.
Mm-hmm.
You know me.
Yeah.
Windows Subsystem for Linux, and they're making this easier and easier. Now it's in the store.
I know.
Yeah, but as we'll say, there's a confusion to this too, which I think is a little
No,
strange.
I think you're overthinking the confusion part.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, they announced WSL 2 for Windows 11 is in the Microsoft Store, but it's also still built in to Windows. That's what you're referring to, right? Mm-hmm. Don't you think that's just temporary? That's how I read this post.
Well,
It's
you
gonna,
always
the
went to
store
the-
is going to be
You
the
always
best way.
went to the store to get the distro you wanted.
that's right.
Right. But now you're
So
actually going
here's
to get
why-
WSL in the store too.
So-
Here's why I think this is confusing. I agree. Well, when WSL was part of Windows 10, right? So shipping Windows 11 without WSL, I think, would have caused some confusion. It's a baseline component of Windows, blah, blah. Obviously, having it in the store is better on a number of levels, the big one being servicing and updating, because otherwise it's tied to that version of Windows. Having two side-by-side that literally run side-by-side, you could have both, I think is a little strange. They have no plans to remove it from Windows. And also because
No,
it
they
is
do.
in Windows 11. Well, okay. But it's in, well, I'm interested to hear that. But it's still a supported part of Windows 11 and thus has
It
to be
is.
included in the operating system for a certain amount of, whatever the amount of time is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they should, them moving to this is the right thing to do. Absolutely. All I mean is right now it's a little confusing because you have two
Yeah.
sources for this. Sort of like
Well,
Windows
Teams.
PowerShell versus PowerShell. Yes.
Or Teams in Windows 11. That's confusing.
In the original WSL, you had to go into Windows features and turn it on.
Right, which is, by the way, something not, well, of course, we're talking about Linux, people who need Linux. Yeah. It's not a discoverable UI.
No.
I'll put it that way.
No. You actually, I don't think it's even in control panel Windows features, is it? You have to know that
No, it is technically a control panel, but you have to search for it to run it.
No, it's there. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I know
you can search for it and run it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that still, so that's the thing you're talking about, that component that you turn on in Windows features, that's still there?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you are a WSL guy and you upgraded to Windows 11, you have WSL 2 or whatever. Now it's in the store. You can download that version, install it, and run it, and you can have those two things running side by side.
Yeah. But here's what they say in the blog
paradox.
post that I think is important, right? They say, we're hoping that you think WSL in the store will be the best way to use and install it. You'll get the latest updates fastest if you use the store version. And here's the quote: in the long term, we'd like to move WSL users to use the store version.
So, Mary Jo, I don't mean to get
they're
pedantic with you.
Guiding you.
But in the long term, and we hope are not, we have a plan to on this date.
So we're crossing our fingers.
No, look,
you know what'll happen. Well, you know those deprecation things you see for Windows all the time, like after a new version ships. Someday you'll see, and WSL now in the store only. Right? They'll
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Drop the hatchet right on a neck right there.
Well, so it will be marked as something that's deprecated. It will still be there, and then eventually it will be removed. And by that time, we might be talking about Windows 12 or something.
So
right?
you're saying that this is Microsoft's policy with components like this, so as not to break software. They can't take the...
Yeah, once you put it in Windows, you can't just remove it.
Remove it.
You know, it's
right,
part of
because
what
of
they...
the way it's built.
It's part of their maintenance agreement.
They have a commitment to that.
It is.
But is it turned on automatically? Maybe... No. So it's just sitting there as a checkbox.
Right.
And if I install it from the store, I have to download the kernel anyway. Even if I check that checkbox, it then downloads all that stuff.
Oh, no,
anyway.
no. This is a good thing. It's absolutely a good thing. Yeah. I think my confusion was if this happened less than 1 week after they shipped Windows 11, right? Or 2 weeks. Why not just why wouldn't Windows 11 just ship that way, you know?
Yeah.
WSL and Windows 11 is just
it's
just why would you even ship it as part of the operating system? It's so weird.
That was odd. I thought so too.
Yeah, that's all.
Agree. But they're always making changes to WSL, and they're trying to say to you, if you're somebody who cares about being on the latest and greatest, you want the store app because we're going to be updating it. I hope that's what they say about Notepad. Like, you know what? There's a store version for people who want changes all the time and want prettier this and that and rounded corners. And if you don't, just stay with the version that's in Windows.
I get bad news for you, Mary Jo. That's not going to happen. I think we all know.
It's called wishful thinking.
One day you're going to wake up and be like, why is this thing reflecting in my face?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I think it's all good news. It shows they're still trying to address customer needs and desires, and with WSL. I feel like WSL team, Craig Lowen, those guys, they've just been like on it, right? Like they're doing all this great stuff.
There's kind of a weird cross-section between WSL and Windows Terminal. And these are products that existed outside of Windows. Well, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. Terminal existed outside of Windows and now is part of Windows. And WSL existed in Windows and now it's out of Windows. And it's kind of weird. Like they both matured in a very obvious fashion and then completely reversed the way that they ship to customers, right?
It comes with Windows now Terminal. You can't install it from the store. You don't need to.
Well, you still can though, because there are different versions of it, right? So you can get on, I don't know if they have channels or whatever the naming convention is, but there are, just like we have dev and beta channel in Windows and in Edge and in other products, you may want to be on the leading edge. In fact, there's a Visual Studio thing. I meant to mention this to you before we started, Mary Jo. I hope you can explain to me the difference between what appears to be two different versions of Visual Studio, but we'll get to that.
I know. Yeah.
I was very confused by that. But again, Microsoft likes to do this with a lot of its products, not just dev products, but depending on your need or your want, that you may have heard about some future feature coming down the pike, and they have a way for you to try it now, which is beneficial, obviously.
I think it's also putting WSL in the store is also part of this whole thing towards making the store be really more than it used to be. Really a big deal, right? It's a way you install additional capabilities into Windows.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
They're trying to fix the store. We're going to hear from people, or I already know when we say this, but they're trying to make the store what it should have been all along, which is the place for everything. Win32, UWP, any kind of app.
Christina Warren said something
PWR.
Interesting. She was on Twit on Sunday. As you know, she's a
I love her. That's great.
Senior dev. Yeah, we love Christina. In fact, we used to have her on all the time. And then when she was at Mashable, she left and went to Microsoft. And I thought, oh, now I can't have her on. And that lasted about a month. And I said, never mind, I'm having her on. But she's a dev advocate over there. But she says, she calls the store Windows Package Manager.
Right. It's a front end to Windows package.
There's WinGet, of course. But she's thinking of it really... on Linux, you have a command line package manager, but there's usually a GUI front end to it that looks like a store. Ubuntu does that. Everybody does that. And I think that's kind of to me now, that makes a lot of sense. That's what the store is. It's your package manager.
It's how my mother thinks of it. So, yeah.
Well, I think your mother.
I don't understand the store. Why do they have package manager in the store? It's like the store is just a GUI on top of package manager.
Does she call you? This WinGet. Why do you have WinGet and a store? You don't need both. It's just the same thing, right?
I mean, if I can type commands, why would I need a GUI?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that makes sense. And in a way, that's kind of the same thing with WinGet and the store. They both do the same thing, but one's kind of a command line and one's
that makes sense to me.
Yeah. If you're worried about having multiple copies of the same thing on, you ought to try a Samsung phone. Man, two of everything.
Right.
One from Samsung, one from Google.
That's why they cost so much. It's two of everything.
Got two of everything. Actually,
that's why I don't like Samsung phones. The whole extra ecosystem. Yeah.
Although I must say, we had the guy who does internet, their browser, in the studio a couple of years ago, and the benchmarks on the Samsung browser are they're really good. It's better than Chrome as a browser. It's really well done. I just want to give him props. So, and you're all excited. Next week is going to be really interesting because first Google says we're going to do the Pixel 6 on Tuesday.
Yep.
Apple says, hold my beer, we're going to do the new MacBooks on Monday. And then Samsung says, hey, wait up. Can we do Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wait, I heard Apple was doing something. We're doing the same thing.
Next week.
What are you releasing? We don't know yet. What's Apple doing? We're going to do that.
It's going to be a crazy week.
The Surface Duo 2 ships on Thursday for anyone who wants to add that to their
Let's just wrap it all up.
calendar.
And you're getting yours then, right? October 21st?
Yep. I'm not getting a review unit, it looks like, so I'm glad I have an order in.
How long can you return it? It's a pretty long window, isn't it?
Well, last year it was 60 days because of the pandemic, so I'm thinking maybe 30 at least.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the numbers.
I think you should do what I do when I get a lot of products is just start the return policy immediately and then
yeah,
RMA.
pretty much.
Slap it on the box and then
because then they'll tell you the exact date. And it's usually like a month out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel guilty doing that, but you really could buy it, review it, and return it.
You can.
Sometimes you have to.
That's
I've
the
done
only way
that.
you can get it.
I've done that with Surface devices.
I feel guilty doing that. I don't.
Of course.
No. Yeah. Come on. You return shoes. You return clothes.
It's funny. Lisa says
but
exactly the same thing.
But you go into that
can't
purchase
do that.
thinking you're going to buy it, and then you get it and you're like, this doesn't fit. Or
you know
doesn't
what?
work.
If it's great, if it's amazing, I'll keep it.
Wow.
And I'm waiting for you because I canceled it so I could afford all the things that are coming next week.
I know.
I know.
And I'm also going to buy the Pixel 6 Pro, so it's going to be an expensive month.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the phone I want.
At least you don't have to buy any Apple crap. You're lucky that way.
Thank goodness. Yeah. That's not even in my piggy bank. No.
It's interesting. We've always posited that Windows 11 was really just Microsoft's way of helping the industry sell more PCs. Right. Maybe they did need to, it turns out. Q3 results are in. Not so good.
Yeah. So 3 sources, Canalys came out first, then IDC and Gartner followed. I usually follow those 2 guys. But, like I've been saying last few months, every time a PC maker comes out with some sort of quarterly results, I look for this information. Every time quarter ends, I look for this, has the pandemic era buying boom for PCs ended? And Gartner and IDC agree that it has ended. In fact, they both cited two reasons for two factors for why PC sales only grew about 2.3% year over year in the quarter. One is that buying boom is over, and the other one is the thing we keep talking about, that supply chain problem, right? Those PCs are waiting. They could have. It may have been 5 or 6% growth, maybe, if those PCs could have gotten off the ships or whatever was happening, or their components. But that's where we're at. Also interested to see if you're interested in this kind of thing. Chromebook sales fell off a cliff in the quarter, and Chromebook sales exploded during the pandemic. They were up. Very high. I don't remember the exact numbers, but. Chromebook shipments actually fell 17% in the quarter.
Wow.
And that's like the first time that platform has ever experienced double-digit year-over-year decline in sales, ever.
But again, this is all because of the pandemic. It was so inflated last year because everybody had to buy these things.
Right.
I mean, down 17% from the banner quarter that was last quarter.
That's true. But if you look at Lenovo, Dell, Apple, and Acer, all of them grew sales year over year. HP actually had declining sales. I don't remember the percentage, but I want to say it was in the 5% range, so it wasn't really big. I mean, this Chromebook sale drop-off was more dramatic by comparison.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Interesting. Before we take a break, I do want to take a break here. The Discord, Peace Lord in the Discord is saying he's hearing reports about big problems with Windows Mixed Reality on Windows 11. Have you heard about that? This is from the Flight Sim forums.
Yeah, I had not until he just linked this up, which sounds like Windows Mixed Reality on Windows 11 Home is having problems.
Pro version's okay.
Right.
Okay.
But you know what? Microsoft has been so adamant about backwards compatibility with Windows 11 and promising they'll fix any apps that don't work. I can't imagine them not fixing that.
Well, doesn't it need it for
HoloLens
too? I mean, this is also their product,
yeah,
right?
HoloLens is, I think, working fine with. I haven't heard anything about HoloLens and not working.
So maybe it's third party then.
You always have to ask: is this a licensing thing or is this a technical issue? Like, are they trying to force people to go to Pro to use Windows Mixed Reality, which doesn't really make sense if that's what they're doing. But this is the first I've heard of it, that he posted this from the Flight Simulator forum.
Right. Cool. Okay.
About that.
I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, come back. There's lots more to talk about. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Windows Weekly is underway. It is time to tell you about privacy. You know about privacy. I mean, lowercase p. I'm going to tell you about privacy with an uppercase P. Privacy.com. This is a tool I've been using 2 years. Every time I buy something online now, anytime I share a credit card, I use a privacy card. I create a privacy card. It is a full credit card with all the features, of a regular credit card, except it's got some great privacy features. Privacy.com, it's a tool that makes it super easy to manage your financial life online while keeping all your most important information secure. When you create a credit card on Privacy, it creates virtual numbers that masks your real bank information. You can lock it to a merchant, which is great. So when I buy on Amazon, only that credit card can be used for Amazon. Anybody else steals that credit card number, it's no good to them. You can also have one-time credit cards, single-use options. So there's merchant cards, which are tied to the person who uses it. I have an Uber card, a Lyft card, that kind of thing. And then there's single-use cards, which are used once and then burned forever. And when I'm buying something online at a store that's really sketchy and I don't know anything about, that's what I'll use is the single-use card. The other thing I love about Privacy, and it's been a huge lifesaver, whenever I'm signing up for a subscription, anywhere, whether it's an app, whether it's a periodical, whatever, I use a privacy card. Not just for the privacy, not just for the security, but also because I can completely control my subscription and any recurring payments. If I'm done, I don't sometimes it's hard to cancel, as you probably know, a recurring payment. I just pause the card or even delete it. It's gone. Poof. Usually I just pause it because there's no cost to pausing it. You'll never be accidentally billed twice or upgraded to another service without your consent. You can set on every card, you set a spending limit if you want. So you can't be overcharged. If it's a subscription, you say, look, that's $5 a month. Don't ever make it $6. And I have to say, I wish I'd had privacy years ago. I quit a gym, sent them all the letter and everything, 30 days notice, blah, blah, blah. And they pulled this little loophole thing that said, well, you didn't quit your training session. So they continued to bill me for 6 months. By the way, never got that money back. Credit card company said, well, it's been 6 months. So I never got that money back. Privacy, no problem. If that gym's still billing me, pause the card. Good luck. Try to get your money. You pause the privacy card. No, crazy customer service hoops. No quasi. It's not fraud exactly, but they were kind of taking advantage of me. Privacy just blocks the charge. Oh, and you get a notification. You get a pop-up on your screen. You get it in your email. You get to choose, and you can always go to privacy.com, see your declined charges. It's fantastic. They'll even notify you if they try to charge over the allotted amount. So you're always going to stay within budget. You're always going to know what's happening. There's a Chrome extension. There's a Firefox extension. So it's very easy. I don't let my browser fill in my credit cards. I let privacy do it. All the details instantly shared. And what I really like is, my kids still a little bit, on the family trough. I can share a credit card with them very easily, straight from my privacy dashboard on the desktop. No copy and paste, no insecure screenshots. The recipient does not need a privacy account to access that shared card. You just click the share button as you're viewing a card, enter the email address, privacy handles the rest. That is a great feature. And then, I do this with my mom. I want to buy my mom dinner. She cooked dinner for me my whole life, right? She's 88 now. I said, Mom, let me buy you dinner. And I shared a privacy card with her. She attached it to Uber Eats or whatever. I can't remember, DoorDash. It's now, by the way, always attached to that. I know when she's using it, and it makes me feel good when she's getting dinner on me. She loves that feature. You can also, this is new, tag your cards. Create custom tags so you can sort your cards by category. Under views, you can see all the cards you've made. And I think this is a good thing because, as it turns out, over the couple of years I've been a privacy customer, I have a lot of cards now. So it's nice to be able to organize them a little bit better. I am a huge fan. Single-use cards that are burners, merchant locked cards, the ability to pause any card, complete reporting information. Now, I should mention this ties into your bank account. So it's like, or your debit card. So it's like a debit card, but it's a real charge card. And except that you pay it instantly. You're not going to build up a balance or anything like that, which I frankly don't want to do. I don't want to pay the interest in that. So I think this is a great way to use credit cards online everywhere. Protect your financial identity online using virtual cards. Go to privacy.com/WW. Sign up for an account. New customers automatically get $5 to spend on their first purchase. Privacy.com/WW. Sign up today. Big fan. Love these guys. In fact, long before they advertised. I've been using privacy for a long time. Let's get back to Windows Weekly. And I'm guessing this is a Microsoft, all about Microsoft story. Azure Cloud goes down for the count. Mary Jo?
Here's how my day started today. I was in bed, heard a ding on my phone. It looked at the clock a little before 7. Should I look at it or not? Okay, look. It's a customer, big customer, Microsoft saying, I don't know if you know, there's a huge Azure Cloud outage happening right now. So then, of course, I couldn't sleep. I had to get up and check and look. And what was happening was a global outage of virtual machines, Windows virtual machines on Azure, that had been going on for like 6 or 7 hours by that time. Not a good way for anybody to start their day. Microsoft has been moving various pieces of the Azure infrastructure over to part of their infrastructure that supports ARM, not that ARM, Azure Resource Manager, the other ARM. And it sounds like something broke while they were doing that. And so that's my technical explanation.
Something broke.
I'll tell you their explanation, which is not even in English. When I read this, I'm like, it's not even in English. Microsoft said a required artifact version data could not be queried. What does that even mean, guys? And then they said, there was this compute resource provider on the back end, VM guest agent, couldn't be queried from the repository. But don't worry, only a subset of people were affected. So anybody pretty much worldwide trying to use a Windows VM on Azure, a new one, not one that was already in existence. But if you were like setting one up or deleting one or managing one, you were affected by this. So there was a lot of outrage on Twitter, as usual, about this. I will say, as I always do when these things happen, and a few people commented this as well, at least it wasn't your own server where this happened. Because if this was in your company and this happened, it would be a very bad day. So
you got somebody to blame.
When now it's on Microsoft servers, you can blame them, right? Yeah. And you can say, it's not me, it's them, right?
Boss.
But it lasted like 7 hours before they could mitigate it. So it started around midnight East Coast time and then was resolved around 8 a.m. this morning. Yeah, so that's a long time for that to happen. Even if it was a subset of VMs, even if it was a subset of users, it's still like when I woke up and I looked at the Azure status page, the whole VM thing across the entire globe was like in trouble mode. I was like, it's bad. Okay. And it's not just bad because of VMs, but there's so many services that are dependent on VMs, like all of the DevOps services in Azure, for example, GitOps, all that stuff. Yeah. It was a rough start to Wednesday. But supposedly all fixed now, and they're going to post a full root cause analysis within a day or so. So, yeah. There we go.
Okay. It's funny how Facebook, this happens to Facebook. It seems to happen a lot lately.
Yeah. I had just been thinking the other day, we haven't had an Azure outage in a while. I should never think that because then I jinxed myself.
Oh, it's your fault.
Right.
I blame myself for this, everyone. There it is. It's me. Because I was just thinking, Azure's been up pretty well.
It's been pretty good lately. It's funny.
Great job, Mary Jo.
I know. I take all of your service tickets. Send them to me. I'm here. I'm here for you.
All right. Russia is number one, says Microsoft. I don't know what this story means, but I like it. We are number one.
They published a report about state-sponsored cyberattacks, and Russia does more of them than every other country in the world combined. So, number one with a bullet. Surprisingly, China barely made the top 5. They were number 4. But the other 2 in the top 4 were North Korea and Iran. So I think we used to call these guys the axis of evil, didn't we? I don't know.
No, and you brought up in the notes, we have this about Microsoft saying yesterday, just the day before this outage, about how they blocked a distributed denial of service.
The biggest one ever.
Azure, right?
Yeah, the biggest one ever.
So I'll tell you, I like that they're starting to put these kind of stories out because I feel like all you ever hear is Azure's down, Azure did this wrong, somebody misconfigured this. I think it's good to see some stories about, okay, here's something we did right with Azure and security and how we blocked like an Iranian attack on Microsoft 365. They need to do that
largest
too. Right?
DDoS attack ever, right?
Right.
2.4 terabits a second. Is that the one you were talking about?
I went back and looked at this because I'm like, okay, did it take Azure down? And I looked at the dates. I'm like, no, it doesn't look like it did.
No, they mitigated
it. Like there wasn't even an outage. There was nothing that I saw, at least in their reported status page history. So
this came up
that's pretty impressive.
with regards to Xbox, which runs on Azure, sort of.
Yeah.
Remember earlier this year, there was some minor outage and everyone was complaining. And I was like, guys,
Yeah.
this service has been online for 15 months during a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
we should celebrate those successes as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It was unfortunate that this happened, the Azure outage, on the day after they did this announcement, plus the second day of Google Cloud's big event. I was like, okay, timing is pretty terrible for this, but when is it a good time for an outage? Never. Right?
Right. Right.
There's never a good time.
There never is.
I thought you liked my outages.
That's different. That's different. All right, let's talk Microsoft 3. I had the funniest call. Oh, I should play this for you on the radio show on Sunday. Guy, he called everything a doohickey and he said my thing 365 thing, and but in a way I don't feel. I feel like it's sort of Microsoft's fault that they used to call it Office 365. Right. And Windows
made sense to people,
which people understood, and now he says, what is this Microsoft 365? Oh, and then he said, and they want me to do two-factor. He didn't say two-factor. He said something, tap something on my phone. And what happens if I don't have I don't have a smartphone. My friend is going to give me a smartphone. But what happens if I lose it? And I thought, I feel so bad for people. I
know.
We get it. That's what I told him. I said, look, the people who design Silicon Valley, the people who design this stuff, they're all engineers. It's in their blood. They just get it intuitively. And they don't understand. Normal people are completely baffled. And then, of course, Google's turning on two-factor for, I think, 150 million accounts at the end of the month. And it's like normal people go, what? Huh?
Right.
Anyway.
I had a guy on Twitter. I had written about Microsoft going passwordless, and he said, "So I don't need to use the PIN anymore on my computer, right? Where's that setting?" And I said, "That's not. That doesn't mean that. You still have to authenticate somehow."
Exactly.
He said, "But yeah, I don't want to type the PIN anymore." It's like, well, you could turn off password.
This guy said, I'm in my 70s. I don't need this stuff. I just want to please. I just want to.
Right.
But this is the world the bed we made. Now we have to sleep in it. It's the world we live in. I don't know if there's any way going back on this.
No, there's no going back.
No going back. Welcome to Microsoft 365, my friend.
Also, take off your shoes when you fly. There's no going back.
No going back. Pointless, but there's no going back. EU regulators getting after Microsoft. Who complained about this?
Surprise.
A guy named Mr. Butterfield. Is that his real name?
That's his real name.
It's weird. He's never complained about Microsoft before. What happened?
I know. Yep. So in mid-2020, before Slack had been acquired by Salesforce, they filed an antitrust complaint in the EU against Microsoft, saying that Microsoft shouldn't be allowed to bundle Teams with Office 365 and Microsoft 365 because it gave them an unfair advantage. So the EU said, okay, we'll consider the case. Maybe we'll look into it. So last week, Reuters got a copy of the questionnaire that the regulators are sending around to the Microsoft rivals. So it looks like it's moving forward. They're asking them all these questions about, Microsoft's decision to integrate Teams with Microsoft 365, to include the Teams chat button with Windows 11, which they just started doing. And is that giving them an unfair advantage? Also, just some general things about how COVID has affected the demand for workplace apps. I'm not surprised the case is going forward, but I did point out in my post about this that right before Slack filed this complaint, Stuart Butterfield was saying Teams was actually not a Slack competitor.
Yep. That's right.
Right. And Slack stopped reporting their usage numbers when Teams numbers started skyrocketing because the comparison was going to make them look really bad. So I never try to weigh in on these kind of cases. It's not my area of expertise, and the rules in the EU are different for antitrust versus in the United States, like what you have to prove. My guess is the EU is gonna go against Microsoft because they seem to always go against Microsoft over there. But the question to me is, what's going to happen if they do? Like, will it just be a fine, or what Slack wants them to do is unbundle it? And if they unbundle Teams from Microsoft 365, they're going to have to independently start charging for it, which is definitely not going to make Microsoft customers very happy anywhere in the world, because right now it's included for no additional cost. So, yeah.
I just want them to unbundle it from Windows 11.
I know. You want the button to go away. So, yeah, we were hinting at how confusing this is. If you have Windows 11 right now and you actually have clicked on the Teams chat button and you already have Teams installed, you now see two Teams icons, two different Teams icons. And one of them is for the consumer Teams features, and the other one is for your work and school account. And when Teams 2.0 happens, whenever that happens, I don't know when that's going to be, they should be combined into one. But right now, this is super confusing to people. Like, they're like, wait, why do I have two Teams icons? Like, what's that? And why do I have to have two different ones?
The team, or what's it called? Chat from Microsoft Teams that featured Windows 11. I suspect is going to wind up like Windows Media Center did at the end, where I think Steven Sinofsky is the one who announced this because people were complaining when they were taking it out of a version of Windows 8 or whatever. You know, he said the vast majority of people launched it by mistake. And then when they saw what it was, they turned it off. And I think that's what's going to happen to this chat feature. It's going to come up and they're going to be like, oh, what is this? I already have things to chat with. You know, I don't think there are people out there like, man, if only my computer had some way to communicate. Yeah. You know, I could use it for this purpose. But
I know. That's what happened to me with Skype Meet Now in Windows 10. I never even, I saw the button there and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And one day I clicked it. I'm like, oh, let me shut this off. I don't want that there. Right.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people know what it is. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They've got a lot of work to do in my book before they get anybody to seriously consider using Teams Consumer or using Teams with your family. And I know, before anyone says this in the Discord, I know there are people who listen to the show who have that situation and they are using it that way. But I have not met anybody in the real world who uses Teams for that.
I've done this. I don't mean to criticize this mentality, but people who are in IT that force their family into a mini IT situation. I completely get it. I will just say from experience, this is not a good path. That's all. You know, it sounds like the right thing to do. I'm going to have a managed environment at home. My kids are going to be super, surveillanced and monitored and, locked down and everything. Like, I get it. I completely get it.
Sounds great. Yeah.
It sounds
but
awesome.
It's just, it's just.
I know. Yeah. My family, for example, for a while I had everybody using Skype at the start of the pandemic. And then one person started using Zoom and they're like, oh, Zoom is so much easier. So now we do all our family stuff on Zoom. We never use it.
So frustrating. I did the same thing. I set up a Jitsi server because it's open source. I thought we'll all use this. It's free. Zoom's so much easier.
It is.
It just works. It has recognition. Like, people know what it is. And I think that helps. Yeah. With normal
If I said to my family, let's do a Teams meeting, there would be an extreme mutiny in the foliage.
Especially once they used it. I mean,
we call our family the foliage. Get it?
Oh, I like it.
The foliage would not be
good.
happy. The foliage would not be happy about having a Teams meeting. Just saying.
We also have a funny name, but now I don't want to say it because that's now I.
No, you have to say it now. No, you have to.
The Therodizens.
The Thuristas.
Love it. No, what's wrong with that?
Nice. That's cute.
It's.
I feel bad. I don't have a clever name for my.
You're going to have to come up with one now.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Look at him. He's thinking. He's thinking hard.
Yeah, I feel so uncreative. I don't name my cars either, I think there's or computers. There's something wrong with me.
Sure.
I just live my life. I don't have names for everything. Therodizin. What is it? Theristas. Theristas, like baristas.
But Thur.
Theristas.
Oh, that's cute.
I like it. Theristas.
It's cute.
And the foliage. Man, you
Kev
guys.
Brewer has it. The Leo Porters. Come on.
See, this is exactly why we don't have a communal name.
How about Le Portage?
Le Portage. Laportians.
That's good.
We used to call, back in the old days of my radio show, fans Laportians. And our
Right.
gang sign was the L on the forehead, which we found out later really wasn't.
Yeah, you
not
don't want
necessarily.
I'm a
that.
Laportian.
Not the best.
Yeah.
Not the best.
Did you talk about ally.io? What is
Not
that?
yet.
What is ally.io?
yeah.
Am I saying that
You
right?
need
Is
to
it,
know about this.
Is it ally?
I think it's ally.io. Yep.
What is it?
So
What is it?
I had never heard of this group of products before. They're called OKRs, Objectives and Key Results. Yeah, it's as exciting as that sounds. Microsoft bought this company called Ally.io. They are in the OKR space. And what they're going to do is turn this functionality into a new module in Viva. Viva is the employee experience platform that Microsoft has. So right now, Viva has connections, insights, topics, and learning. It's meant to help you as a company onboard and manage your employees virtually and in person. So if you think about what OKR does, it's basically software that does what the name says. It lets a company take the corporate objectives and show them to employees in a way that gets them to engage with them. Right. So if you're a company and you're trying to raise X amount of dollars for some project like corporate giving for Microsoft, you could put this into a module and say to employees, we're X amount of the way towards our goal of some number. And then it'll give employees who are on that platform a feeling of knowing how they're working towards the corporate goal.
Never heard of this
Me neither.
thing at all.
It's a thing, though. Yeah, it's a thing.
When I saw this headline, I actually yelled out loud because I thought what they were buying was my bank, which is
Ally Bank. Yeah.
which is an online
it
bank.
is not that.
No.
And then my wife said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Microsoft just bought our bank." And then she's like, "Why would they do that?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Living the dream.
And then I read it and I said, "Oh, thank God, it's some company I've never
You're
heard
like,
of."
not that. No.
Yeah.
No. So, Microsoft's really big on this idea of if you engage employees by showing them your goals and your objectives and doing things like yam jams and all that fun stuff, all that good
Oh my
stuff.
God, no.
You're gonna
Which is, by the way,
really
it's another fun
feel-
thing to do with your family.
Yam
Get
jam.
on Teams,
Yam
do some
jam.
yam jams.
Time for a yam jam. We got to use Yammer
maybe
for a yam
allocate
jam.
some SharePoint storage for everybody while you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this is for people who work in big companies where there are things like corporate objectives to work towards and where you want to get your employees involved in
My
feeling
objective-
like a sense of belonging.
It's just not to end up on the street. I don't have.
That's a goal.
Very
That's
simple.
corporate
That's a goal.
I'm a simple person. I don't.
Yeah, that's a low level goal. But
Well-
it is a goal.
It's not a
I
bad
guess you got to
goal.
start somewhere.
I always look. I walk by somebody's, sitting on the street begging. I always there for the grace of God. Go I.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm. I don't know. Maybe I'm lowering my self-esteem, but I just feel like being a podcast host is just one step above homeless. Honestly.
No.
I know. Especially if you have to use like a USB mic or. or a phone or something.
God, I'm glad I don't work for a company with OKRs.
Well, one day you may.
Oh.
Now that it's becoming more of a thing. Like right now it's a thing in tech, heavily in tech, but they want to expand it to all industries. So maybe even podcasting will get their OKRs.
I understand the
boy.
issue, especially in a giant corporation managing
Right.
a lot,
Yep.
10,000 employees. I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea how you do that. We can.
No,
I
and
can,
especially during the pandemic, right, where you
Right.
can't like have these in-person company meetings. Like you're relying on tools to communicate with people and keep them engaged and excited about working, even when they're not there. So
It's funny because here we are, especially you, Mary Jo, covering big business and the tools of big business, and we don't.
Right.
We work by
we don't
ourselves.
use any of this. I know.
We don't.
Right.
We don't use any of this.
We don't
no.
need this stuff. In fact, probably I won't speak for you, but for me, my entire work career was to be avoiding that kind of
Same.
situation.
Yes.
That's the
Yep.
last thing I wanted was
I know. Same.
measurable
even the things
targets.
Yeah. I don't like these kind of analytical tools that are in things like Viva. I personally don't like them. You know, where your employer, even if it's not tied to you, but they can see how people are spending their time, right?
Yeah, but remember,
how many meetings are you in? This and that. I don't love that, but some people live for that.
What was that?
They want that.
What was that thing that they were going to? The feature that they were going to build, and we were talking about it. It has a silly name. And we were saying, that's really silly. And then we got a lot of email from people saying, no, you don't understand.
No, people love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that feature. But
You don't mean Microsoft Viva, which
Viva.
This is,
Yeah, you probably mean something in Viva.
It was
right?
Viva. Yeah, we're talking about
so
Viva.
this will be part of Viva.
It's called Viva Insights. And that's the thing where you can have an insight into, like, I spend 50% of my time every week in meetings.
I don't want to know
or
that.
I have only, or if you're a salesperson, I haven't called this customer
okay, but
in
hold on a
2
second.
years.
You
right?
spent 30 hours last week playing Valheim. I don't even know that.
I get a report every week from Grammarly that says how many words I wrote that week, and actually, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
That to me is
That's
So you
different.
like that?
No, I do
Okay.
like that. That's
but that's a measurement of you're
it's like quantified
going in the right
self.
direction.
You know, it's like activity monitor on your watch or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I like that.
Right. I don't like any of that. I don't like knowing myself.
I don't want the
like
boss to be
telemetry.
doing that. I don't
so
mind setting my own goals.
right.
I don't want the boss to be
Yeah.
telling me.
Right.
Right. So in Microsoft land, they say it's not tied to the individual employees. It's an aggregate number. Like we can say people in this group are spending X amount of time in their meetings. Okay.
But
I still
everyone's a
don't
group
like
of
it.
one, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob, see this chart? See that little red thing at the bottom? That's you,
Bob. That's you, Bob. Right at the bottom.
You know what? Some people are motivated that way.
You're the
They're like,
Chromebook in this chart.
No, I understand
Yeah.
you need to do it. It's like to
Yeah.
me, it's like stack ranking or any of these other management things that are
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
I'm listening
Yeah.
to Brad Stone's new book about Amazon Unbound, and it's
yeah.
just it's painful for me. I just
I bet.
I couldn't work in that kind of environment.
Me neither.
Right.
Yep.
I would
I
be
know.
crying at my desk every single.
I'm curious.
day.
5 years down the road, Amazon might be a very different place now that Bezos.
I
is,
think
you know.
Jassy is
Yeah.
is already saying. In fact, he said this: we got to treat our employees better.
Right. Right.
Bezos, you know, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he was a brilliant strategician and money, business guy and all that. And I don't know if Brad, I trust Brad. I know Brad. I think his previous book was excellent, but he's sure not painting a very flattering picture of Bezos.
Well,
Don't you feel though
but-
like these people who are founders, like Gates and like
how
Jeff
could it be
Bezos?
flattering?
Just like
a book
Jobs
about
and
Steve
Gates.
Jobs isn't going to
Right,
talk
they
about
were-
how
Autocratic.
tyranny was. You
No,
know?
they just wanted you to like sleep under your desk, like at
Crack in the whip.
Microsoft, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I feel like it was the time and the place, and people were like, "Yeah, all right, that's what I have to do."
This
and now
is a
people are
startup.
like, "No, that's not what I'm doing."
But it's not a startup if you have 100, 200,000 employees
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
the richest man in the world. It's no longer a
Right.
startup. And maybe that's why Bezos wisely and Gates
Yeah.
too stepped down and said, no, we're gonna let the business people
Time
run
to let
this now."
somebody else do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got a little philosophical.
That's interesting. No, all the management stuff, it's like you got to kind of put a human face on it. Otherwise, you're just talking about OKRs.
Yeah,
Right.
but if you have 100,000 employees, maybe that's the only way you
Maybe
can
you
manage
want
them. I don't-
OKRs.
Yeah,
I know.
So I guess for the same people who said you don't understand Viva Insights at all, we don't work in that environment, and I understand
Yeah.
maybe you need that to manage a large group, and obviously Microsoft says you do, and that's why they acquired Ally.io, not
Not the
Paul's
bank.
Bank.
Not Ally Bank, thank
No.
God. We have Ally
You
Bank.
could go
because
back
of
to being
Slow
a
Mary.
teller
Yeah.
working for Microsoft.
But, you know, when we moved to Pennsylvania, the first thing we did was we found a local bank because we always had one. We sat in this office for 3 long hours while this woman laboriously opened multiple accounts for
Oh,
us.
it's so painful.
Assured us that that we could connect to all of them online, and then we got home and Stephanie went to connect to them, and you had to have a different account for every one of the accounts. Oh, and we were like, all right, that's the end of local banks, and then we just went to Ally, and Ally's been great, except when we get cash, we have no way to deposit it.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's what, so I have an internet bank as well, but I could deposit with my camera. Oh, cash.
I love that.
No,
Cash.
you just got to spend cash. What are you going to do? You got to
Yeah.
spend it.
Yeah,
Right.
you hoard it and then you spend
Hoard it.
Yeah.
Cash? Where are you getting cash from? What do you got a side
I can't
business?
talk to you about my cash-only business, Leo, but
Cash? My favorite part is you're sitting in the office at the bank, and then they go, okay, and they turn their terminal around and say, type your password in. Oh,
Yep.
my God. You have a password manager on there? Can I? No, just type something in.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Or I'll type it in for you.
Yeah, or just tell me and I can type it in. Sure. So I immediately go home and change all those passwords. Oh, and to verify your identity, we'd like you to sign your name on this card, and then when somebody brings in a check, we'll just check it and make sure it matches.
Yeah. No, we used to do this. This is
Makes sense.
bring in your passbook savings account.
Yes, your
We'll
passbook.
run it through the printer.
Yeah. Yep.
Remember that?
Look, you made 67 cents in interest this year.
Right.
That's a pretty good year.
They write it into the passbook, your deposit, and then give it back to you. Oh, I got my. Wow, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
I guess. Although that were nice for kids to understand the cause and effect.
For kids, it was good.
Yeah.
Kids have no idea now. It's all bits. Right. There's no money. That's why when you said, what do I do with my cash? I'm thinking, wait a minute. I don't.
Cash?
You know what? All I've got is a giant jar full of coins that I don't know what the hell to do with. And then I found out, though, that the Safeway down here has one of those coin things. You pour it all in.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns it into not cash, a credit that you can give the teller. And all the buttons go straight through, which is really handy because apparently I've got a lot of buttons and Canadian coins in my coin jar. I don't know why.
Yeah. Here, banks are asking people to roll their coins.
Oh,
and
I used
bring
to
them
do
to
that.
the bank because they're like, we have a shortage of coins, so if you want to do that, and I'm like, you know what, I might do it because I probably have like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, but you don't want to hand roll coin. I used to do that for my mom. I would hand.
You know what? It's a way to pass the time when you're watching TV. Like, roll up some quarters.
You guys, you need one of those ally.io things to monitor how much time you're spending rolling quarters.
4,492 quarters.
I don't know how much you thought your time was worth, but I can tell you it's a lot less than you thought.
I would buy those sorters, the coin sorters. You put the coins in, and they come out in stacks, and then you get the rolls. You put them in the roll, you bring them to the bank, and you got like 800 stacks of pennies.
Sure.
Here's $4. Thank you. Goodbye.
I know, right? Yep. Oh man.
These machines
like,
are
I want
better.
that in pennies. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take it in pennies. I like rolling. What can I say? There were two chores I had: rolling pennies and pasting in S&H green stamps. You guys are way too young to remember that, but
I do remember.
Do you remember S&H green stamps? You paste them into the book, and then you bring in a book, and you get a set of dishes.
Mix the oleo into the butter or whatever.
You have to
squeeze it out of the little tube thing.
Yeah, and get your ration card out. Meanwhile, Back to the Future, Excel is getting a smooth scrolling feature. Now that's important.
Well, yeah. So this is filed under the "how is this not already a feature of Excel?" question, but it is. It is in fact a feature of Excel, but it only works on. Let me see if I can find this on. In here somewhere. It only works with touch and touchpad based. Touchpad, like trackpad based scrolling, right? So that's actually been smooth for a while. But most Excel guys, right, using a mouse with a scroll wheel, that's not smooth. It has never been smooth in Windows. This is in Windows, I should say. And they're finally doing the hard work to make that happen. And it's honestly, the Microsoft post about this is worth reading if you're interested in this kind of thing, because they go into great detail about all the things they had to change in Excel.
It's hard. Computer science problem.
See, Leo would have said, it's just a DLL. What's the big deal?
It's a smooth scroll DLL. Come on. Anybody can do that.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. If you are in any of the Office Insider programs, there are two, beta and current channel preview. You have that now, and it's going to be available to everybody sometime in the coming months. So it's coming down the road.
How interesting.
Yeah.
I have to, next time I see Mitch Kapor, ask him how he implemented smooth scrolling in Lotus 1, 2, 3.
I don't think Mitch Kapor or Lotus Notes ever had anything like this.
No.
He's like, why do you need to scroll the mouse? All you have to do is type in the cell names. What's the, I don't understand.
I don't think VisiCalc had it either. Mm-hmm. I see the VisiCalc guy all the time. I saw him at CNS a couple of years ago.
The VisiCalc guy.
What's his name? I'm trying to remember.
I know. I ran into him at a comics one year. And,
he's a great guy.
Dan Bricklin.
Yeah, he was wearing
Dan Bricklin.
Thank you. And he always wore flannel shirts. And
then the other guy, Dan's great with the beard. But there was the other guy who worked with Dan. They did it together.
Nobody knows.
Oh, no, they do. Of course they do. If I say the name, now you're making me crazy.
VisiCalc.
Bob
See.
Frankston.
Co-founder of
Bob Frankston. You know
yeah,
Bob.
Yeah. Yep.
Great guy.
Yep.
I couldn't pick him out of a crowd, though. I did pick Dan Bricklin out of a crowd.
I could pick either one out of a crowd.
Interesting.
And it's so weird because this is VisiCalc we're talking about.
Right. This is like literally the first
Stone Age software, right?
Yeah.
Except it's not.
Yep.
It started it all.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that long ago. The first spreadsheet program, and it was for Apple II computers.
Yeah.
It sold a lot of Apple II computers. That's what it did, yeah. I don't know. I'm a little discursive today. I'm sorry. I don't know. It must be the drugs I've been taking. You done with Excel smooth scrolling?
Yeah.
We covered that now in detail.
Yep.
And finally, back to Amazon.
Yeah, right. So speaking of Amazon, I think we all agree the past year has been horrible on so many levels, but it's been interesting and sad this year to watch all of the big tech companies. Amazon has done this, Google, Microsoft, of course, repeatedly announce and then have to delay that return to office thing because this pandemic just never ends. And Microsoft infamously just gave up. We're not even going to try to guess anymore, Apple has been a little more secretive about this kind of thing, as you would expect. There have been leaked emails and so forth, but they've also delayed their return to office expectations. And then Amazon, new CEO, Andy Jassy, came out with an email to employees that GeekWire got a hold of and said, you know what, let's just fix this problem. We're not going to tell you how many days you have to be in the office. We're going to let team leaders determine that on a case-by-case basis, and it will just be based on what type of thing they're working on. There are going to be some projects that you maybe need to be in there more, and there are going to be some where remote work is fine. But there's just some common sense here. Like a lot of people hear this and like, hooray, I'm going to fly off to Fiji and work from there. And they're like, no. We need you to be able to come to the office, right? So one of their little stipulations for most people is going to be that they expect you to live close enough that you can come into the office within a day's notice if you have to, if there's an important meeting or whatever. And then, but on the flip side, they will also allow employees to remote work leave for 4 weeks per year from any location. As long as it's within the country, right? The idea being that they're kind of meeting people kind of halfway here, I think. And I kind of read this and I thought, man, this is like common sense. Like this might be a good approach. I know every company is different, but when you think about the big tech companies in particular, Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, whatever, I think this might be the
This is the future.
the right
Yeah.
This is that hybrid work thing. Microsoft back in August was like, hybrid work is hard. It is hard. But I think Amazon has kind of cut through it a little bit and said, look, let's just meet everyone in the middle here, which we don't see a lot of these days.
This is, to me, fascinating how the pandemic has changed so much of how we lived. And it's going to continue to, even after it's over, which it may never be. But if it ever is, I think our office is changing. We're, everybody is rethinking. And I think the mode of coming into work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, is kind of an industrial era idea about work.
Well, of course, from Amazon's perspective, it's also better for you not to be driving back and forth to work every day because their trucks need those roads. And if people, if people are going to get that thing like same day or next day,
who's going to be there to pick up your Prime delivery if you're not
exactly.
home? Yeah.
Right. We don't want the roads clogged with commuters. You can work from home and the trucks can drive around.
Yeah.
Delivering the stuff we don't need.
Actually, that's in this book, Brad Stone. When they were doing Amazon Fresh, they had all sorts of problems with delivery of groceries when they first started doing it. And they built the
of course.
fulfillment centers an hour out of town because it was cheap. And then they realized, we got to get into town. So they started doing overnight deliveries for that exact reason. There was no traffic on the road.
I brought this up to my wife because, again, I involve her in everything boring. But I was saying, there's one of the biggest ways that Amazon has changed the world is not necessarily positive. It's that it's because it's so easy to buy stuff. There's a whole cottage industry now of just people returning things, right? So not only are Amazon trucks on the road driving to deliver stuff to a place, they're also on the road delivering stuff that has now been returned and has to go back to that place, right? So it's so easy to order stuff. You'll order a bunch of stuff. It's like the phone thing we were talking about earlier. Order a bunch of stuff. All these boxes show up. You go through it. You're like, these 3 things I don't need. I'm just going to return them. You drop them off at Whole Foods or Kohl's or, whatever thing you have in your local area. And that's a business now. Just places that accept Amazon returns. And it's super automated, as you would expect. You don't have to you don't have to put them in boxes, as long as you have the original packaging. Like, you don't have to box it up. Like, it's not like how archaic that you would be expected to box a package, tape it, put a label on it, bring it to the post office, pay for the postage, and have someone else take care of it. No, I mean, we're almost at the point we can throw it out the car window on the way by, and someone will just scan it, and we get credited before we get home.
Did you know
which,
that
by the way, is exactly what happens.
Amazon will sell you a mystery box of returns?
Oh,
Yeah, that's crazy. I told you. Did I tell you I bought $60 worth of coffee, and I ordered beans, not ground coffee, and I heard the thing shaking, and I'm like, oh, I wrote it the wrong thing. So I went to exchange it, to return it, and they said, just keep it because it's not worth that thing they made. Yeah. So
that's more and more the case. And of course,
this is a business I do not
Amazon got
understand.
in trouble because there was a viral post about them destroying returned goods.
Sure.
And so
because it's
now
less expensive to do that.
Right. Now they can't do that, and they've got to find. So it's fascinating. It's what a world.
Well, if anyone wants to chew on a bunch of decaf espresso beans, I got a hot tip.
You get a lot of them.
Oh, wait a minute. You wanted ground and you got beans?
Right.
Why would you not buy beans and grind them yourself?
I don't know, because I'm lazy.
I'm going to send you a grinder. My God, there's so much.
So
better.
actually, Leo, as it turns out, after this all happened, I said to my wife, how much does a grinder cost? Because we should probably use this. And she says, we have a grinder.
Nice.
They're so
And I'm like, should I go
stale
back to Amazon and tell them never
I'll
mind?
take it. I'll keep the beans. Thank you. We only buy beans. I never.
This is how I'm screwing over Amazon one purchase at a time. I think I bought like 15,000 things from Amazon. This is the first time.
Still
that's
drinking
ever happened.
U-Ban. What are you doing here? Come on, get some.
No,
beans.
this is
Buying
Illy
Dunkin' Donuts.
decaf espresso.
Oh, that's what happens. He's Dunkin'.
I don't buy coffee from Dunkin' Donuts anymore.
Oh, really?
You don't?
Oh, good.
No, not because it's a Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts espresso is fine. I don't drink coffee anymore after 10 a.m.
Okay.
It's an age thing. I understand.
I need to sleep.
I can't drink water after 8 a.m.
Sure. Sure. These are different but related problems.
It all happens after a certain age. You just
Yep.
let's take a break on that note. And,
we're taking a bathroom break because all of us have to go
Bathroom break.
Bathroom
waddling
break.
over to the bathroom.
The only person on this network who doesn't get a bathroom break is the guy who has to read the ads. Unfortunately, I'm stuck here. But fortunately, we have some great sponsors like Bandwidth.com. And I know a lot of you are using Microsoft Teams and want to use it for your telephony solution as well. And there are, admittedly, ways to do it. Microsoft has a way to do it. I've got a less expensive way that's better. Bandwidth Duet for Teams. Provide accurate 911 caller information for Microsoft Teams users. Maintain compliance with complicated E911 regulations during the migration. Look, it's enough just moving to Teams, as we know. Bandwidth's Duet for Microsoft Teams makes it easier. You'll simplify your move with software-driven SIP, dynamic E911 capabilities, and industry-leading expertise. You want to go with a carrier that was born on the internet, that's been, online native since day one, and that's Bandwidth.com. You may say, well, I never heard of them. Yes, you have. You've probably used them. Google does. RingCentral does. And now you can use Bandwidth with Teams as well. The Ray Baum Act. Ray Baum's Act is a big deal. It's a federal regulation that requires businesses to provide what they call a dispatchable location when they're calling 911. And that means not just the street address. If it's a residence, that's enough. But if it's a business, what floor? What building? What floor? What room number? All of that important to getting emergency services to the employee or the room in need. And employees who are using soft phones, of course, they're moving freely between campuses and buildings and remote offices to work and collaborate. So this accurate safety location is really challenging. Enter Duet for Microsoft Teams. Bandwidth leverages its advanced dynamic E911 for Teams solution to identify the location of the Teams connected user at the time of the call. Bandwidth will this is really good too, natively route the 911 call across their secure, highly reliable nationwide network and provides the caller's current location. It's also going to be an easier migration for you. You can really simplify direct routing migrations. If you're thinking about direct routing, you really need to take a look at Bandwidth's Duet for Microsoft Teams. You'll get more control. Of course, it's a better value. And decoupling your telephony from Teams is just, I think it's a good idea. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But besides, you'll get the advantage of working directly with a cloud-native carrier, including failover control, call forwarding, real-time reroutes, and it's all on the Microsoft Teams platform. With Bandwidth Duet for Teams, you'll save 40% compared to Microsoft's calling plans. Bandwidth has 933 and unlimited testing capabilities, so you can verify your location information, verify that you're compliant without burdening public safety. And you will have a partner, not just a provider. They are great. Dedicated onboarding specialists to help you execute your project plan. 24/7 NOC expert support teams will accelerate your migration and be with you every step of the way. Nice little features too, like for instance, you can group your users into logical cohorts, whether, I don't know, it's location or department, but that way you can schedule and trigger ports for these groups without bringing the whole thing down, and you can seamlessly roll back as well. And as you know, that's important too, because these things are complicated. Bandwidth makes it a lot easier with the best support in the world too. Zoom uses Bandwidth. Genesys uses Bandwidth. RingCentral, they all use Bandwidth. Bandwidth's white glove customer support touts a 9.8 customer satisfaction rating and is uniquely positioned to help your enterprise migrate with less frustration and this is really important, meet regulatory expectations. By the way, if you're more than just a Teams shop, no problem. Bandwidth can help simplify your telecom migration to the cloud with a bring-your-own-carrier solution for RingCentral as well, in addition to Microsoft Teams. Check out Bandwidth's Duet for Teams and Duet for RingCentral. See how you can orchestrate your move to the cloud with flexibility and control. Proof of concept awaits at bandwidth.com/WW. It gives you some, actually, if you think about it, some idea of how long they've been in this business if they've got the URL bandwidth.com. Bandwidth.com/WW. We thank them so much for supporting Windows Weekly. We thank you for supporting Windows Weekly by using that address so they know you saw it here. Bandwidth.com/WW. Thank you, Bandwidth. And on we go with the show. Let's see. We've done Microsoft. We've done Azure. How about you want to talk about Visual Studio, right? Dev time. Who's on this one?
I'll talk a little about it and let Paul do the more technical parts of it. Visual Studio 2022, the next major release of Visual Studio, and the first to be fully 64-bit, is coming November 8th. Microsoft's announced this week. The release candidate, which is the near final version, out to testers yesterday. I was kind of surprised they announced the date, especially because it's the day, November 8th is the day before they're doing their .NET conference where they're going to launch .NET 6. So November is becoming a very busy month for the developers in the Microsoft world, right? You're going to have Visual Studio on the 8th with a special event, virtual event, and then .NET 6 on the 9th, right? So,
but now I have to ask you.
Now I know what you're going to ask me.
I have to say, I didn't understand this. There are two versions of Visual Studio 2022 that were released yesterday. One is the RC release, and the other one is Preview 5, I think it was.
Yep. Yeah.
What does that mean? What is Preview
you know
5? I have a guess.
I may be wrong. I was thinking of it as, if we're talking about Windows, as the dev channel and the release preview channel.
That was my guess. Yep.
So I think the preview channel in Visual Studio is where if you want to be on the most cutting edge that you can be, getting a monthly look at any new features they are thinking about adding to the product, you're on preview channel. And if you want to test the product that's pretty much done, they're putting it out with the Go Live license as of yesterday, you go on the release candidate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was also my guess. I'm glad to hear you say that.
That's my guess too.
I feel
'cause
like this could have been
very
explained better
confusing.
by Microsoft.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm glad to hear you say it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had to read it a few times. I'm like, wait, so is the release preview channel? No, we're talking about different channels. Okay, preview channel.
Right.
Yeah, I had to stop and think as well.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add to that is that they also released a .NET 6 release candidate 2 yesterday.
Okay.
This includes some big ASP.NET Core updates. And then .NET MAUI Preview 9, which, as we know, is now not being released until sometime next year, probably mid-year. So .NET 6, like Mary Jo said, will be out in November, right after Visual Studio, which is strange.
Day after. The day after.
Yeah, it seems like those should be the same day, but okay. Yeah. And then, .NET MAUI, obviously, which is .NET MAUI being their kind of... I guess Flutter is the right
cross-platform.
Cross-platform. So it does, Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS development.
So it's basically Xamarin Forms, right?
Yeah.
Redone, renamed.
It's Xamarin with support for desktop apps. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
I'm so excited.
I was watching a live .NET Conf thing right before our show started. They had a little Jeff Fritz and company.
Nice.
We're doing a little live
Blazor?
show.
Talking about Blazor, perhaps?
Of course, they talked about Blazor. Yep.
You still doing .NET development, Paul? Still writing those DLL?
I've been waylaid by the Windows 11 stuff this year, but I was my next thing was going to be Blazor. So we'll see where I land now that I've had some time off. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in MAUI.
Neat. I don't know. Neat. I hear the DLLs over there are really good.
What about the wrappers? Are the wrappers good?
Well, that's up to Paul. I'm just teasing you.
I'll get you both.
I'm just teasing you. I am no stranger to, I don't mind, I do not mind using libraries. It's a good thing.
You have to.
You got to. Xbox news, Mr. Thurrott.
Yeah, so this one kind of came out of the blue, but there is they describe themselves literally as activist shareholders. It's an organization.
Yep.
They're trying to convince companies, including Apple, by the way, to expand their right to repair efforts, right? And so they successfully convinced Microsoft to do this. So sometime between now and the end of 2022, Microsoft's going to make some big changes that will include more than just making one mouse that you can throw back into the ocean and reconstitute water or something. I might have misunderstood the mouse. But the idea is that Microsoft is not one of the bigger hardware makers, but they're a humongous company. Obviously, Surface PCs and devices and Xbox video game consoles and peripherals and all that kind of stuff. And the point behind right to repair, I know it's probably semi-obvious, is that things break and then you want to get them repaired, but when only Microsoft in this case can repair them, it's often difficult or impossible. And this will allow lots of third parties to repair these devices. It will put the information out in the world that they need to do that, and Microsoft will commit to making parts available. And I think the figure is 70% of all the emissions associated with a personal computing device happens during production. So if you can keep that thing out in the world longer, it's better for the environment, basically. And it's not necessarily better for the company that wants to sell more hardware. So I'm kind of curious to see how Apple handles this one. But Apple talks up recycling. I mean, obviously they're very much into that. So we'll see. But it's a good thing, I guess. I'm just curious to see how they actually handle it. We shall see. Anyway, this is speaking of hardware that nobody needs. Microsoft next month will be the 20th anniversary of the Xbox. I just told a little story about that. I distinctly remember Bill Gates and The Rock being on stage. That was one of the greatest Microsoft moments of all time. And one of the first of many instances where Microsoft is on stage and is like blah 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 blah, and it's really boring. And then this guy from outside of the industry, or woman, doesn't matter, but someone from outside of the industry comes on stage, and all of a sudden it's like fun and dynamic. And the best line, you can look this up, I'm sure it's on YouTube, but Bill Gates says something like, well, I think, and then The Rock says, no one cares what you think, Bill.
Oh, I remember that.
And then it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment. But
this was kind of when The Rock was just a wrestler, right? I mean, he wasn't a movie star yet. He was just some big lug.
Yeah, he still had hair,
Yeah.
He's towered over Bill Gates. He's a big guy, obviously. Anyway, November 15th is the 20th anniversary of Xbox. Ahead of that, they have released 2 20th anniversary special edition hardware devices. One is an Xbox wireless controller built on the new platform, obviously, and the other one is an Xbox stereo headset, which is based on the Xbox stereo headset that Microsoft released earlier this year. They don't look anything like first-generation Xbox hardware. Instead, what they've done is they've taken the kind of the translucent green and black and gray internals that were part of the developer hardware they had, speaking of AMD and Intel, right? And that's what they look like. So they're not like even throwback. They're just another design for these things. Like in the sense that we have multiple styles and colors of Xbox wireless controllers, this is another one. So they're not special priced or anything like really expensive. They're the same price as the normal hardware.
Here he is. They're so state-of-the-art that they'll only be done right as we finish the manufacturing. So we'll plug those chips in. Except for that, everything in this box is the final design.
Here's the Rock.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I might want to use that sometime, Bill.
Well, thanks, Rock. And it really is an honor to have you here. Believe it or not, I'm a big fan of yours.
Is he Rock or The Rock?
That you're a 5-time WWF champion. Not to mention one of the top entertainers in the world.
Oh, that's right.
Bill, I'm very flattered. I'm a big fan of yours as well. For instance, The Rock knows you're the chairman and chief software architect of the Microsoft Corporation, a leading worldwide provider of software for the personal computer.
Thank you, Rock. I'm very flattered myself.
By creating Windows in 1983, a multitasking graphical user interface environment that runs on MS-DOS-based computers, along with Windows NT and Windows 2000, completely self-contained operating systems that feature networking, symmetric multi-processing, multi-threading, and security. Bill, you've certainly revolutionized the technology we know today.
Well read. Well read.
Yep.
Wow. Rock, that is impressive. But let's move on.
Oh. You also like golf.
That's true, I do. But today isn't about me, Rock. It's about the future of video games.
Bill Gates, you never cease to amaze The Rock. Never cease to amaze The Rock. You're right again. Today isn't about you. It's about the new Xbox. And quite frankly, I couldn't be more excited. The Xbox is everything The Rock is. Cutting edge, powerful, exhilarating, and like The Rock, it will be the most electrifying thing coming out this year. And what The Rock is to sports entertainment, to the WWF, the Xbox will be to the video game industry a breakthrough and certainly an original. I mean, The Rock doesn't impress easily, Bill, you know that, but I'm pretty damn impressed with what we're seeing here today. And considering that this Xbox at this moment is only running on 1/5 of the system's power, it's very impressive. Bill, do you have any idea?
So this was before the
like if you were only running on 1/5 of his power?
Well, I would think that...
It doesn't matter what you think, Bill. I'm sorry, Bill. It's just a force of habit. Rock apologizes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It doesn't matter.
Those are the days, guys. Those are the days before tech intensity, I'll just say.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So did they have it? Because I remember going with Tech TV up to Seattle. I think it was at the Experience Music Project, Paul Allen's museum, and there was a big event. That's not what this is. This was like
I was in a stadium, and I want to say it was in Vegas, maybe. It was and I was way up above when this happened. Like I don't remember where it was exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. 20 years later, The Rock would still be a welcome guest on any Microsoft stage,
and he'd be a lot better at the acting bit.
Yes, he worked on those chops. Cool. 20. It's kind of hard to believe. 20 years.
I know.
I just installed Diablo 2 on my Xbox, and that's 20 years old. And it was funny to see this old game. But now I'm excited. I want to see Quake. This is
speaking of Quake is 25 years.
25.
Right?
Yeah, because we were playing that in the set of the screensavers way back.
Yeah, 25 years. So Yeah, so Quake, I replayed the entire thing when it came out on the Xbox a couple of weeks back. It's still awesome. It is
all right. I'm gonna have
one
to
of the fastest.
Yeah.
When I finished playing the game, I went back to Call of Duty, and it was like walking through mud. You know, like it was just so slow by comparison. And by the way, it just got a little faster, or a lot faster, I should say, because that version of Quake that they released, whenever that was, 2-3 weeks ago, was, I don't know what to call this. We've kind of lost the terms for native versus non-native these days, because Xbox One, Xbox Series X, et cetera, it's probably the same code base, really. But we'll call the version that came out then like an Xbox One title, essentially, even though it ran on everything. They now have native, again, for lack of a better term, versions for Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation 5. And if you have those consoles, obviously you get the upgrade for free. I mean, if you already bought it or you're using it on Xbox Game Pass, it happens automatically if you have the right console. Now the thing runs at 4K at 120 frames per second.
Oh, man.
Xbox users get Xbox Play Anywhere support, so you can play across PC and different devices. If you're on a PlayStation 5, you get a couple things. No one cares about PlayStation. But the cool thing is, because of Smart Download, if you got this previously, you'll automatically get the update. You don't have to do anything. It just appears. And if you're on a PlayStation, you get a lot of work to do. But again, who cares? Because you're on a PlayStation. You bought that on yourself. And by the way, if you want to buy this game, I think it's $10. Like it is. This is it's still great.
If only I had a Series X, I would jump on this one.
So I have now gotten 2 emails from people who've told me that they have tried to buy an Xbox Series X on Facebook from a guy who was using pictures that I took of an Xbox, and they're wondering if it's really me.
No.
Yikes.
So
That's
the answer is no.
Scammer.
It's a scammer. And
I got an email, and it could be legit.
The right amount of money, we could talk.
I got an email from a guy who said, I have an extra Xbox Series X, but I need a PlayStation. You want to trade? And I thought, I'm not sending you my PlayStation 5. No.
I'm just saying I'm trying to add to that pile of cash I can't deposit anywhere. So,
there's a lot of scammers out there.
Yeah, there are.
And as we mentioned last week, it's going to be a while before the supply is going to ease up. Oh, it bums me out because I'd like to play it at
it stinks.
I'd have to get a 120 hertz 4K TV to go with it, but other than that, I foolishly bought Michael a new TV for his PlayStation 5 that was only 60 hertz.
Oh.
So I said to him, no, don't worry, Michael, because you only can do 4K or 120 hertz. You can't do both. I don't know if that's true, but I told him that. So please don't disabuse him.
It's not true with Quake. But it's probably true. The modern games, that probably is true.
Yeah, older games, maybe. Okay, yeah. I won't bring up Quake if you don't.
Yes.
Back of the book coming up in just a second. Before we do that, let me quickly mention our third and final sponsor of the hour, Akamai. Big fan. You know Akamai. I think everybody knows the name Akamai. Probably you think of Akamai as a CDN. And no surprise, when you've got a lot of data to deliver anywhere in the world, that's the number one choice for every big brand in the world. But Akamai also is edge computing. And I want to let you know a little bit about that. Akamai powers and protects life online and is changing how we live, work, and play. If you want to be on the cutting edge of innovation, you need to be operating at the edge of the internet. No one can get you better there than Akamai. That's what they do. Akamai has 10 times the locations of the nearest competitors. That's over 4,000 points of presence, 4,000 globally, which means no matter what, you're always closer to your end user with Akamai. They have built the largest, most sophisticated edge platform in the world so that the biggest innovators can power and protect their greatest ambitions. Visit Akamai.com/WW. See how Akamai powers and protects life online for your customers. And I mean protects, too. This is another thing I didn't really think about, but Akamai stops some of the most dangerous threats launched at the internet and everyone online every day. Their unrivaled edge platform intelligence sees more internet conditions in order to avoid bottlenecks and defend at the edge. And Akamai's experts and threat researchers are there right beside you on the front lines of protecting and delivering digital experiences. Their proximity, their scale, helps developers build better apps and put experiences closer to their customers and protects you while you're doing it. In short, Akamai keeps your digital experiences closer to users than anyone and threats farther away. With Akamai, you can provide the best possible experience for your customers. They'll get whatever it is you're delivering, the content, the apps, the sites, the video they need without lag or interruption or latency during unexpected traffic spikes. You can prepare for spikes in demand and optimize resources to provide the best experience for your customers. You'll be amazed at Akamai's unparalleled performance, and you'll always be one network hop away from 85% of the world's users. That's kind of amazing. You're within one hop of 85% of the world's internet users. And by the way, if you are innovating, you can do it right at the edge. Your logic and your functions are deployed and active at the nearest proximity to your end users, which gives them the fastest experience around the globe. It's simple to build right at the edge using JavaScript. You can innovate in real time. You get low latency access to data for custom code at the edge. And Akamai can optimize your API traffic delivery for edge applications. If you were, let's say, some giant corporation in Silicon Valley and you were planning a big product launch and you knew millions of people were going to tune in all at once, you'd probably want to use Akamai to get it to them. Akamai is trusted by all top 50 global media companies, all top 20 global e-commerce companies, all top 50 global telecom carriers, even 500 banks globally, including the top 25 banks in the U.S. and 22 of the top 25 in EMEA, Europe and Middle East. That's pretty impressive. That's kind of means like they're the best, right? Akamai is there powering and protecting digital experiences in a way no one else can. 10 times the locations of the nearest competition for the fastest customer experience available. You're getting the market leader in CDN, but not just CDN, video delivery, web performance, DDoS protection, web application firewall. No one can compete with Akamai when it comes to setting you up for success and scalability online. I just wanted to let you know, because you've heard the name, now you know what they do. Check out akamai.com/WW to learn more about how Akamai powers and protects life online. Give your customers the best possible experience online. See for yourself what life with Akamai is all about. AKAMAI, akamai.com/WW. Thank you so much for supporting Windows Weekly, Akamai. We appreciate it. And thank you for supporting us by going to that address so they know that you saw that here. akamai.com/WW. Paul Thurrott, let's go to the back of the book. Paul, what do you say?
Sure.
Sure.
So I have only app picks today. And the first one I actually mentioned last week, but it's happened since then. It wasn't released last Thursday like I had hoped. But Start11 has hit release candidate. I think they were expecting Windows 11 to ship maybe a little later than it did originally. But it is everything that anyone who has ever complained about the Windows 11 start menu wants. It basically fixes all of the problems. It's still pre-release code. You might run into some issues. But you may recall one of the big complaints I had about this thing was that you have these two main sections at the top for pinned and then recommended. And if you deleted items from either, it wouldn't resize so that it made sense across both. And the Start11 does that. They also renamed, I think it's recommended to recent documents. It's like, yes, thank you. Really nice. You can right-click the taskbar and get to Task Manager again. That kind of thing. So, look, this thing's it's $4.99.
Worth it.
As I was saying.
Worth it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
totally worth
must.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
And especially if you're feeling the limitations already, of the original of the Windows 11 start menu. So good stuff. So that's out. The other one is Vivaldi 4.3. In the same sense that I was shocked to discover that Excel didn't support smooth scrolling in Windows. Vivaldi didn't support the full functionality of PWAs, meaning the ability to install them and then manage those things as apps. Now it does, just like every other.
It's funny because Chrome does, right?
Yep,
so
it has for years and years. Yeah. Huh. So I don't know what's going on there, but they finally added that, so that's great. They're also blocking that Google Idle API thing, which is great as well. They have an awesome screen capture utility, which is what everyone wants. Well, or at least as an option. You take a screenshot of a website, like a web page. Oftentimes you want the whole thing, right? Not just the part that's in the window, and it does that. It has its own translation capabilities, improved sync, improved download panel, and they have integrated mail calendar and a feed reader as well, and those have been improved too. So it's actually 4.3 maybe they could have called that one 5.0. I don't know. It's a big release, so that's good. Leo, I know you're a Firefox user and advocate, and I assume you are up on this topic, but I just wanted to bring this up. Over the course of Firefox 92 and now 93, Mozilla has quietly added some weird features to this browser, one of which is the ability to display advertising, essentially, in the address bar.
People are kind of used to this because Chrome does it too, where they call it suggestions, right?
Right, that's exactly right. But the other one is, again, this is something other browsers do, but because of Mozilla's stance on privacy and all this stuff, it's just a little strange. They are now collecting your keystrokes when you search and sending them to a server that Mozilla owns, and they're doing it for the purposes of, better results. And it's like, well, I don't know. So it's a little questionable, I guess, because it's Firefox. Google does this. You're like, Google. That's
a lot of people use Firefox for that reason. They don't want to send stuff to Google, right?
Right. So the good news is you can turn both these things off. In fact, there's one setting to turn off that will turn off both of them. You just disable that Firefox Suggest feature. If you just want to turn off what's the first one called?
There's browsing history, bookmarks, open tabs, shortcuts, search engines, contextual suggestions. That's the big one. I don't want contextual suggestions.
It's basically everything. Yeah, the contextual suggestions, sponsored suggestions, right? Those are two things. You can turn those things off, or just turn off Firefox Suggest altogether, and that will get rid of everything. So it's just, it's like, is this sketchy? I don't know. It's still Firefox, but it's just something to be aware of. It's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, I leave browsing history on because I want it to be able to search through that. I want it to be able to search through bookmarks and open tabs. And then, don't send it to search engines. And I really don't want the contextual suggestions.
Right.
Although they say if you click Learn More, well, this is how we make money.
They literally say that's exactly right. Yeah. So it's possible Mozilla won't be able to rely on the largesse of Google to survive for the rest of their life or whatever. And I don't. It's understandable. They need to they need to make money. We get it. But it's too bad.
I turn it off. I don't care if they need to make money. I don't want to send my keystrokes to Firefox. Good tips and really apps, but good tips too. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, I guess the Mozilla thing is sort of a tip.
That's a tip. Mary Jo Foley, Enterprise Pick of the Week.
My first pick is about Microsoft Ignite, which is the first week of November 2nd to 4th. The sessions are starting to go up online right now. There's almost 400 sessions listed so far, and you can browse them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Without even registering.
I guess because it's all pre-recorded, they can just put it up as soon as it's done.
Yeah, I mean they're not there yet. Just the names and the descriptions.
Oh, okay.
But you're right; they are pre-recording a lot of these.
Right.
myignite.microsoft.com. So a couple observations. I combed through the session list, so you don't have to. 400 of them. Yeah, it took me all day yesterday.
Jeez Louise.
There are, surprisingly, a lot of Windows sessions. Windows 11, 30 sessions.
Wow.
So, it's mostly things like showing off the new features, explaining some of the choices they made. And there are some tangential sessions like Microsoft 365 and how you can use Windows 11 as your client within the Microsoft Cloud PC. The other one that you see a lot of that kind of surprised me was Endpoint Manager. So Endpoint Manager sessions are all about how you can better secure remote workers using Endpoint Manager. And I think there are like almost 20 sessions just on Endpoint Manager within there. If you care about Dynamics, and who doesn't, day 2 is Dynamics 365, like all the new product features and announcements. And there's going to be some new things that haven't been disclosed, but a lot of them will be about the Wave 2 set of features that are rolling out later this year and into next year. So make sure to be day 2, be on there for day 2 if you care about Dynamics. And, I kind of always joke about Dynamics, but Microsoft is so tightly integrating Dynamics these days into things like Teams and Azure. It's all just one big, happy Microsoft cloud anymore. So you can't get away from Dynamics. You used to be able to, but it's now pretty much integrated into everything that you're doing if you're a Microsoft shop. Lots of low-code, no-code stuff in here. What else? Anything else surprising?
It's just amazing how much Microsoft does.
They're in everything. That's whenever anyone says to me, "Aren't you bored covering Microsoft after 30 years?" I'm like, you know what? I'm not, because they do everything. They're in every single market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something for any IT pro, any and every IT pro in the session list, and you can watch Ignite for free. All you have to do is register, and if you do register, you're going to get to see Paul and I help dissect the keynotes on day one. We're going to be on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2:30 to 3 Eastern, and we're going to be talking live about what we heard from Satya and Scott Guthrie and Jared Spataro and all the big boys and girls at Microsoft.
Wow.
So it'll be entertaining, and the word tech intensity will be uttered many times, I am sure.
That's fun.
Are we going to drink every time that happens? I think we should.
If we do, I will never get through that keynote. So, yeah. Just saying.
Nice. And Enterprise Pick of the Week number 2.
Great. So we keep joking about the ocean plastics mouse and saying, is Microsoft really doing that much about the environment? Well, here's the counter to that. Microsoft's doing a lot when it comes to the cloud and helping customers and themselves reduce their carbon footprint and check on what they're doing emission-wise. In fact, today, Microsoft made generally available this thing called the Emissions Impact Dashboard on Azure. And so what that is a tool in Azure that lets you track, report, analyze, and hopefully one day reduce all the carbon emissions that your company is creating as part of cloud usage. So if you're into that kind of thing and you're very intrigued what's going on with Microsoft and cloud trends around that, carbon emissions and environmental impact.
That's a great idea.
There is an event for you. Wednesday, October 27th, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a pre-recorded thing with Brad Smith. It's all about what Microsoft's doing in the cloud to help customers reduce their environmental impact. You can just look this up. Look up the event called What's Next for Sustainability. It's a virtual event, and you can register for free and get tips and tricks from Brad Smith himself.
This has been his portfolio of late, right?
One of his big causes. Yeah, for sure.
Good for him.
Yep.
Really good. I think you and I, and maybe Paul, deserve a nice beer. What do you say?
I say yes. And I haven't done a pumpkin beer pick yet, despite them coming out in July. There's a lot of pumpkin beers out there, and most of them are terrible. They usually taste like a pumpkin spice latte made into a beer. So if you like that kind of thing, maybe you would like them. But I like my pumpkin beer a little more subtle. One of my favorites is from Allagash Brewing in Maine. It's called Ghoul Ship. And this does not taste a lot like pumpkin. It's made with pumpkins, molasses, and even the seeds of pumpkins, all ground up. They turn it into a sour beer by conditioning it in oak barrels and blending it with older versions of this same beer.
Oh, neat.
It's 8.2%, so it's not a light beer, but when you taste it, there's something in there that you're like, oh, that's interesting. What is it? And a lot of people don't even realize it's a pumpkin beer. That's the way I like my pumpkin beer, subtle and sour.
Unfortunately, brewery only. I wish you could get this.
No, it's around.
Oh.
I've seen it. Yep,
good.
It's being
those
poured
cool bottles.
on draft.
Oh, nice.
On draft and in bottles,
I
too,
like those
around.
Cool bottles. So
you may find it in your local favorite watering hole or beer store or Tavor, one of those beer ordering places. So, yeah, Ghoul Ship. If you don't want your pumpkin beer to be tasting like a pumpkin pie, you might like this one. If you do like it tasting like a pumpkin pie, you have many other alternatives. Many.
Phoenix Warp in our chat room says, that actually sounds good.
No, if you like a nice desserty beer, there's nothing wrong with pumpkin. That's the Southern Tier beer, but I'm more of a subtle person when it comes to gourds and squashes and pumpkins in my beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary Jo Foley, allaboutmicrosoft.com. Thank you. Great job this week. Paul Thurrott.
Thank you.
Same to you, Thurrott.com. Paul's books are at leanpub.com. And, of course, we gather together every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC, to deliver unto you Windows Weekly and our weekly ruminations upon the peregrinations of Microsoft Corporation. If you want to watch us do it live, there's a live feed, audio and video, at twit.tv/live. There's also a on-demand version of the show at twit.tv/WW. In fact, probably the best way to get this would be subscribe in your favorite podcast application. That way you get it automatically the minute it's done. If you do subscribe in a podcast application, do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review so everyone knows about Windows Weekly. It really helps. Of course, another way you can help is by joining the club. You've heard us refer to our Discord. We have a great chat room going in Discord, as well as irc.twit.tv. irc.twit.tv is open to all, but that Discord chat is a benefit of becoming a member of Club Twit. $7 a month. What does it get you? Less than one pumpkin allagash ghoul ship. It gets you a ad-free version of this show and all of our shows. You get your own feed for audio or video. You get access to the Discord, which is not just chat rooms around each show, but all the geeky topics, including things like comic books. And in fact, Stacy's going to start her Stacy's Book Club pretty soon, so that'll be a lot of fun. We have events just for club members, like the Steve Gibson Ask Me Anything that Aunt Pruitt did last week. That's up on the Twit Plus feed. All the stuff that we do that's unique to the club is on the Twit Plus feed. Lisa and I, in about a week, are going to do a Ask Me Anything as well, kind of an inside Twit. There's the Untitled Linux show on there. There's the Giz Fizz. There's lots of great stuff. We try to give you some value for your dollar. $7 a month helps us out a lot. Really helps us with the production costs and so forth, and it shows your support for this little thing we call Twit. Twit.tv/clubtwit if you want to know more. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Paul, Mary Jo, great show. Thank you so much. Thanks. And we'll see you next week on Windows Weekly. Bye.
If you find yourself talking to those virtual assistants in your house quite often, or maybe you can make your light turn on and off with the touch of a button, well, Smart Tech Today is the show for you. Join Matthew Casanelli and myself, Micah Sargent, every week as we talk all about smart stuff and the fun that comes along with it.